Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, the governor makes a budget deal with state lawmakers. It includes some big changes in social services.
Is San Diego on the road to recovery, or have we stalled? One of the county's top economists is at the roundtable, along with analysis of legislation that would cut food stamps for families and those in the military.
Also tonight, there may be some clouds on the horizon for San Diego's solar energy industry, and it's the end of the line for a San Diegan who took on one of the toughest challenges in sports. KPBS Evening Edition starts now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Peggy Pico. California utility regulators say they will launch an investigation later this year into the troubled San Onofre nuclear power plant. The plant has been shut down for nearly 5 months after a break in a tube that carries radioactive water. Investigators later found unusual wear on hundreds of tubes running through the plant's steam generators. And the Nuclear Regulatory Commission says a change in the design of those generators is to blame. Tonight, the chairman of the State Public Utilities Commission says that the panel has every intention of probing the San Onofre shutdown and its possible impact on electricity rates for power customers. But he says the panel needs more time to gather information. Governor Jerry Brown and Democratic lawmakers say they've made a deal to balance the state budget. In a joint statement, they say the new spending plan protects education, permanently reforms welfare, and includes tough ongoing cuts. The changes include a shorter timeline for CalWORK recipients and to find jobs. And the Healthy Families program will be eliminated by shifting more than 800,000 children into Medi-Cal. The budget also cuts funding for child care assistance and Cal grants for college. The legislature is scheduled to vote on the budget next week. The new budget depends on passage of Governor Jerry Brown's proposed tax increase. That measure wasn't officially qualified for the November ballot until yesterday. The Brown initiative would raise the state sales tax by 1/4 cent on the dollar. It would also raise income taxes for individuals earning more than $250,000 a year and on joint filers who make more than $500,000 a year. A rival tax measure will be on the ballot also. It's promoted by civil rights attorney Molly Munger. It would raise income tax rates earnings above about $7,300, using a sliding scale depending on income. A new report says high-speed rail might be a good investment for California, but it's not likely to benefit the state's economy in a way that's been promised. A UCLA economist studied high-speed rail in Japan and found no real evidence of economic growth as a result of the system. He says that because it doesn't carry freight, the California High-Speed Rail Authority economic growth plan from the bullet train system would create about up to 450,000 new permanent and statewide jobs over the next 25 years. State lawmakers are still considering whether to allocate voter-approved bond funds. The money would begin the first leg of the nearly $70 billion rail project. Public transportation use in San Diego is up here and throughout the nation. According to the American Public Transportation Association, a one-car versus two-car household saves about $10,000 a year. And every person who uses public transportation instead of a car reduces carbon emissions by 20 pounds a day. That's just a few of the reasons transit riders gave today for celebrating the Dump the Pump Day. Trolley. Bus. Commuter train, or even just walking. Today, San Diegans joined in the 7th annual National Dump the Pump Day by ditching their cars for public transit. Tourist Eric Vincent and his 6-year-old son Bradley use public transit every time they visit San Diego.
Every time I come to town, usually I take the trolley because it's a real easy way to go basically all around the city.
I ride minibuses.
But Bradley prefers
trolleys.
How come?
They're faster. because you don't have to wait as much.
Carla Wildman is taking her first solo trolley ride today.
I lost my car. I got into an accident, so now I have to.
But even if you have a car, Jamila Hillebrand with the Metropolitan Transit System says using public transportation helps the environment and saves consumers money.
By riding public transportation, you can save yourself a lot of money, actually. We have our $72 monthly pass and our $18 senior disabled pass, so that saves you a lot of money in gas and parking prices.
And it's easy and even kind of fun, admits Wildman.
I like it, actually, yeah.
Because?
I don't know, it's convenience, I guess, yeah.
MTS and Sandag offered gift cards and other incentives to riders today for the Dump the Pump Day. San Diego's sole competitor in the race across America has dropped out. Mike Wilson and his crew pulled into a small town on the Kansas Plains. Race Across America is a bike race that may be the toughest endurance test in all of sports. KPBS reporter Tom Fudge first brought us Mike Wilson's story and has been following the race. And Tom, how far did Mike get and why couldn't he go on?
Well, Peggy, he got to a little town in Kansas which is called Yates Center, and it was at that point where he and his crew pulled into a Pizza Hut restaurant and made the decision that he should drop out. Exhaustion had taken a tremendous toll on him, and they also decided that he would not be able to get to his next time post, the Mississippi River, in order to quickly enough to still be qualified to continue in the race. He was battling a very tough crosswind in Kansas coming out of the south. He was having hip problems. He had a foot injury, and so they figured that it was time to stop. Every year, about half of the people who compete in the Race Across America don't finish, and today, Mike Wilson ended up being one of those.
Well, Tom, it is such a tough contest. Can you give us some details as to why it is so hard?
Well, the Race Across America begins here in San Diego County at the Oceanside Pier, and it goes all the way across the country to Maryland, to Annapolis, Maryland. And the rules are really very simple. The first person to get to Annapolis wins. And that means if you can keep on riding with no bathroom breaks, without stopping to eat, without stopping to sleep, more power to you. And so obviously this forces people to try to keep going with as little sleep as possible. It's very difficult on the body. It causes injuries. It causes people who do it to become mentally disoriented because they're so exhausted. And that's why this is considered by a lot of people to be the toughest sporting event in the world.
It sounds absolutely grueling. Now, Wilson didn't finish the race, but there was one thing that did go as he had planned.
Yes. Well, Pico, I have to warn you, this is where the story gets a little bit romantic. There is a member of his crew who is his girlfriend. Her name is Andrea. And after they stopped in Kansas, Mike Wilson had the opportunity to ask her a question. And here we're going to hear what he has to say.
Yesterday afternoon in a little dirty parking lot, I asked Andrea if she would marry me, and she said yes. Believe it or not, well, I tried to wait until she was so tired because we had her on night crew. So she hadn't slept almost at all for the entire race, and I figured my odds were greatest at that moment.
And so I guess I think that's a good lesson for all of us. When you want to propose marriage, make sure that she's really tired and doesn't know what she's talking about. So Mike actually was hoping to pop the question to Andrea once they got to the finish line in Annapolis. Turned out Kansas worked just as well.
It evidently did. Now, there are still some people that are still racing. When will the Race Across America actually be completed?
Well, it's going to be complete very soon. The leaders are a couple of individuals. One is named Reto Skoch from Switzerland. The other is Christoph Strasser from Austria. I call them the Alpine twins. And they are very, very close. Both of them have crossed Gettysburg, Pennsylvania on their way to Maryland, and they will probably get there before midnight tonight, and they're very, very close. They're just about 30 minutes apart, and so we'll have to wait and see. We'll know tomorrow who won the Race Across America.
All right, that's KPBS reporter Tom Fudge. San Diego families took a hit in the 2008 financial crisis that led to the recession, and many are still recovering. Joanne takes a look at how the region is rebounding over at the Roundtable.
A study by the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce found the worst of the recession may be over for San Diego, but it will still take some time for the economy to return to pre-recession levels. Joining me to give us a status report on San Diego's economy is Marnie Cox. He is chief economist for SanDieg. That's the San Diego Association of Governments. Thanks for being here, Marnie.
Thank you for the invitation.
So did the report get it right? Is our economy looking better and brighter?
Well, I think that it's headed in the right direction, but I wouldn't go so far as to say we're on the road to recovery. A good way to define that might be what level of growth, what rate of growth we need to achieve before we're sure that the economy will achieve a pre-recession level within a specific period of time. That's about at the national level, a 3% rate of growth consistently year after year. Locally, it's about a 4 to 5% rate of growth. But we're running at the national level 1 to 2% and locally sub 3. So we're not on the road to recovery quite yet, and we can't be sure at the rates we are achieving that they'll return to the pre-recession levels or anytime soon.
So let's talk about the measures then. When we talk about the economy and how we measure it, what are the things we're looking at?
Well, some of the things we look at, for example, is the unemployment rate, right, and how it's doing and how we're achieving. A couple things there. The Chamber's report made mention of the fact that the unemployment rate recently declined significantly. Well, it's an unemployment rate that's not seasonally adjusted. And every year around this time, the visitor industry hires a lot of people, and so the unemployment rate looks like it's taken a nosedive and things are all good. But if you go back, this happens every year at this time. So you have to be careful that major movements in the unemployment rate aren't a function of something that occurs every year. Another example for the unemployment rate might be the length of time that San Diego's unemployment rate has been below the nation. Well, San Diego, I think, benefits, as well as Orange County, from a unique condition. A lot of the people that were employed in San Diego and lost their jobs were actually living in Riverside or in Mexico. So they become unemployed and go home, which is where they're counted as unemployed as opposed to here in San Diego. And so both Orange County and San Diego's unemployment rate has been below the national level for those two reasons.
I also noticed in the report where we saw job growth and where we saw job loss. And
yes.
I was a little surprised to see that it said state and local jobs were increased, whereas federal jobs decreased in the public sector. Really an increase in state and local jobs?
Yeah, the state and local jobs, a lot of those are teachers. Right, so again, you're going to see increases there at certain points in time. Summertime, you're going to see decreases. So again, you got to go back to the sort of the seasonally adjusted. But the other part about job growth, I think that we need to keep our eye on here is that the job growth that has recently occurred, for example, in the first quarter, they make a big deal out of year over year being about 9,000 jobs or so. Last year, 2011, we were tracking at about 20,000 job increase. But each year, the Employment Development Department, the keeper of the numbers, surveys businesses at the end of the year, usually March, and asks them, how the year went. And when the numbers came back, we actually were only up 8,400 jobs instead of 20,000 jobs. And actually, during the third quarter of 2011, we saw negative employment. We actually lost jobs. But you never read that anywhere. And so this next year, March of 2013, when the 2012 numbers are revised, I expect the same kind of thing. What looks like a rosy output today will be less than rosy by the time that those are adjusted.
We haven't got a lot of time, but I just want to touch on the housing market. I think for a lot of people, we tend to measure our own personal wealth relative to how our house price, what our house price is. So what does the housing market look like right now?
Well, the housing market, I think, is stabilized. I'm still expecting somewhere around 0 to 3 to 5% declines, somewhere in there for home prices overall for this year. But the most recent indicators show that home prices are beginning to tick up a little bit above last year's levels. So I may be wrong, but the growth rate in home prices will probably be relatively small, 1-2%, somewhere in there. The important thing is that we haven't made any headway at all on the equity component. A lot of people still underwater. A lot of people don't have nearly the equity they did when they originally started before the recession started. That has a tendency to weigh on people's expenditure patterns. How comfortable are they that they'll be able to have a cushion to fall back on in terms of home equity? I think that's the other issue that keeps consumption expenditures low, is the people's fear of not having sufficient equity in their home.
Marnie Cox, thanks for being here, and I want to send people to kpbs.org. We have links to this report and a much longer conversation with you from midday earlier today. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's hard not to panic when you think of a baby who can't breathe, but that's exactly what doctors are trying to avoid in this practice scenario. This isn't a real baby, it's a robot, one that's so realistic that doctors and other medical workers use it to learn what to do in a real emergency. Rady Children's Hospital in San Diego is one of the first hospitals in the nation to have this sim baby.
The student or the trainee who's learning, it's as real as it's going to be, so when they get into that real life situation, they are ready to do what they need to do.
The sim baby cost $40,000. Rady isn't keeping the technology to itself. Sim baby will be shared with other hospitals to train their doctors and nurses as well.
As we told you earlier this week, more military families are using food stamps to buy groceries on base than in the past. Ironically, Republican and Democratic lawmakers in Washington are trying to cut food stamps to reduce cuts to military spending. Joining me to talk about what's at stake if the cuts go through is Jennifer Tracy, Executive Director of the San Diego Hunger Coalition. Jennifer, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So first, let's talk about food stamps right now. We know the numbers are up on military basis and off military basis. We're going to show the numbers for the people at home right now in terms of food stamp use. Is this for obvious reasons? People losing jobs? People have less money?
Sure. I mean, this program is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It's a counter-cyclical program. So as the economy goes down, this program expands to meet the need so that children don't go hungry, seniors have food to eat, working people, if they lose their jobs, can have some food to eat until they are employed again. And so what we see is this program expanding for now, but what the projections show is that over the next 10 years, this program is going to contract again, just like it was intended to do. And so when you look at the inflation-adjusted numbers, there's a steep decline in participation over the next 10 years, all the way down to numbers before the recession.
Because, of course, the criticism politically has been that we have a food stamp president, that numbers are up while he's president. In terms of military use, is this really a reflection of how little people in the military are paid that they need to get food stamps?
Well, people who qualify for the program earn less than 130% of the poverty line. So that's a very low amount of money, especially in a community like ours where there's a high cost of living. And there's a less than a 2% rate of fraud in this program, and that includes worker error. So the vast majority of people who get these benefits are indeed eligible and do indeed have a high need for help with food.
So now, who wants to cut this program?
You know, unfortunately, this vote this year was voted on by both Democrats and Republicans to vote to eliminate $4.5 billion from the SNAP program, which is what it's called federally. It's called CalFresh in California. So what we'd really like to see is members of Congress reflect what the Gallup poll shows that Americans care about. And Americans care about making sure that vulnerable populations don't go hungry. They don't want to see kids going hungry. They don't want to see families and seniors going hungry. And so we'd like to see our legislators stand up for the priorities of Americans, which is making sure that the budget reflects the needs in our community and what's at stake.
Now, in terms of cuts, does it mean fewer people are eligible, or the people eligible will get less money?
It means that they'll get less money. So I know in California, this would affect over 100,000 families, and they would get anywhere from between $42 to $90 taken out of their existing benefits. And so when you look at the situation people are in now, the benefits usually last about 3 weeks. And so that means that for the first 3 weeks they have access to food, they're more likely to purchase healthy food. And what the research has shown is that for every dollar additional that they get in their benefits, they're more likely to purchase healthy food. So cutting back on those benefits means we're going to have an exacerbation of other health problems that are related to lack of food access, like obesity and diabetes.
Can you give us an example, if I'm a family of 4, what benefits are per month?
So in California, the average benefit per person is about $160 a month, and per family it's about $250 a month. So
which could go down if the cuts go through.
Which would go down. So you can imagine, for the average household size, which is about 2 to 3 people. To be down to less than $200 a month for food is going to put a serious burden on them, and you're going to see things like parents who have to skip meals so their kids can eat, kids who don't eat over the weekend, seniors who have more health-related problems because of their lack of access to food.
So now this proposed cut is going through the legislative process. Do we know here in California how our legislators have voted on this so far?
So far, both Senators Feinstein and Boxer voted against the cut, and 29 legislators from the congressional delegation sent a letter in support of the SNAP program because they know that this program is really important for families and it's important for our local economy. The money that comes in that low-income and hardworking families spend at their grocery store helps our local businesses, it helps make a difference for them, and it helps all of us because it makes sure that our economy is stable.
There is the multiplier effect, right? For every dollar that gets spent, there's several times more that in terms of the benefit.
About $1.73 for every dollar spent. And this is money that people spend. I mean, it's not something they just go put in their savings account. They have to buy food. So 90% of benefits are spent within 30 days.
Jennifer, Tracy, thanks so much for being here. I want to send people to kpbs.org. We have a lot of links, a lot more information about this issue.
Typically, the sun shines brightly on San Diego's solar power industry. Environment California recently recognized the city as the state's top solar city, and the amount of electricity created by solar installations will grow dramatically in the coming months. However, KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson says there are clouds on the horizon.
This solar power project in La Jolla is typical for a commercial solar installation. Photovoltaic panels will cover much of the roof of this new federal office building that'll house the Southwest Marine Fisheries Service. Construction foreman Cesar Chaidez says these rails on the roof will eventually support more than 800 photovoltaic panels.
A lot of nuts and bolts. We ground them here, all the modules to the spars. And from here, they go ahead and they carry them over and set them in place.
So these solar panels here are sitting up. When they're operating, they're actually going to lay flat on this roof, and they'll generate enough power for about 150 homes.
As we build it out from that side over, the entire roof area is going to be covered. There'll be space around it so the system can be serviced, but for the most part, that's completely covered.
Dan Sullivan is president of Sullivan Solar Power. The local company got into the solar installation business about 8 years ago and has grown pretty rapidly since then. Sullivan's company does 6 to 8 installations a week. They range from small residential projects to larger commercial scale efforts like this one.
In the beginning, prices were between $8 and $10 per watt installed. Now prices are between $4 and $6 per watt installed. So there's been a pretty substantial decline in cost.
A homeowner looking to zero out a $160 a month electric bill would install roughly 460 square feet of panels. Sullivan Solar puts the cost after incentives and tax credits at about $19,000. But not all homeowners pay that upfront cost.
75% of all new systems sold in the state of California are not owned by the customer, the guy paying the electric bill. It's owned by a third-party financer, and then they make monthly payments that are less than the avoided cost of electricity.
The Center for Sustainable Energy in California says the solar marketplace has changed dramatically. Managing Director Peter Hamilton says that change has happened quickly.
5 years ago, many of the people who were going solar were doing so because it was the right thing to do. They wanted to go green. They were looking at very hefty capital investments, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, with limited financing options.
Hamilton says the high cost kept the potential solar market small. Then prices started falling, and the cost of electricity went up.
You have now some customers who may not even care about going green, may not care about having panels on their house or not, but they're doing it just for the economic benefit.
But issues remain. California regulators restrict the number of people who can sell their solar-generated power back to the utility. Home ownership rates are below average in San Diego, limiting who can install a solar system. And what pencils out economically today may not tomorrow. Even so, San Diego Gas and Electric's Jim Avery says Some major solar farms are poised to come online soon.
The growth, we're in the first year of what comes on next year for the first central station will be larger than all the rooftops we've done in the last 10 years. And we'll be adding one of those every several months.
That was KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson. If the current trends continue, solar arrays could generate close to 10% of the region's power in the next few years. Right now, solar generates about 2% of the region's power. In interest of full disclosure, I need to tell you that Sullivan Solar is a funder of KPBS.
Tonight in the public square, there was a lot of discussion on Twitter this week about removing the Charles Lindbergh mural from the airport. Seth Hall started the conversation by tweeting, "Is anyone talking about the controversy of having Lindbergh on a mural, and does the removal have anything to do with it?" Hall then wrote, "He was a eugenicist and a racist. The mural has long been criticized, I thought." And failed county supervisor candidate Brant Will responded with this tweet, "I suspect most San Diegans view Lindbergh more as a hero than a fascist, by a lot." Then Robert Pincus chimed in. He's the former arts critic for UT San Diego. He said, "No controversy, but I gave it a bad review in my story about the then new art at airport." Well, tell us what you think. You can see the Lindbergh image at kpbs.org/culturelust and send me an email, jfarian@kpbs.org, or post your comment on Twitter or Facebook.
And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us and have a great evening.